And what I have been doing for the last, let's see, about 3 years now, I've been just taking a common calendar and I put the proper dates. I overlap the dates, or I should say overlaid the accurate month and dates of the Hebrew calendar, so that way we'll know where we're at on Yahweh's time. Reason I say Yahweh's time because this is man's calendar. The Gentiles is man-made calendar. I've adopted Yahweh's heavenly calendar. Why do I say that? Because it's based off the solar system. Can you be based off the solar system? Well, yes, we can, because the Bible, the King James Version, supports it. And we have the book of Enoch supports it. And we have, I believe it's in, even, Sirach, or as they would call it, Ecclesiasticus. Is it right here? Yeah, supports it. And that's in the Apocrypha. But a lot of you guys don't accept these books because you've been taught that these books aren't divinely inspired. You've been taught that the King James, the 66 books of the King James Bible is the only books you need. And you have to be honest with yourself and ask yourself, where did that information come from? Who says so? Who makes it be that the only 66 books are inspired? You're letting a perspective years ago influence you to this day that is not 100% accurate. If you're going to let that perspective influence you, then you might as well ignore the Shabbat and ignore all the laws that's mentioned in this book, and not allow anything to influence you from this book, but just go to a Catholic priest and let him tell you what you need to know. But you don't do that. You protested against that. And I encourage you now to protest against this words, this information that you have received, that only 66 books is accurate. Anything else is not accurate. We could argue about that more, but that's not what this video is about. But I'll just tell you this much. If you're going to say there's contradictions in this book, or there's contradictions in these books, they don't line up or add up with scripture, but then you could go to the books of Paul. Now, I should say the letters of Paul that are in this book, from Acts all the way to Romans, and all the way to, let's see, what's his last book he got here? Hebrews. And we could say there's errors in all these letters that don't line up with the rest of Scripture. And I made videos to go in some detail, and there's so much I could talk about that, but I'm not just trying to bring down Paul. Paul says some good things, but Paul says a lot of bad things. And his words are just very hard to understand, because he's not being backed up by other witnesses. So now you have to try to reinterpret what he's saying to make it sound the way you want it to sound. And I'm not into doing all that. There's enough information available from other sources that I can use to back me up. But to be fair to you, who are only using the King James, well, let's go to the book of Genesis. Yeah, let's go there. Book of Genesis. And again, this is a King James Version of the Bible. Let me show you. Well, first I need to probably explain to you, this is what they call, this is what they call the Jacqueline Impey Prophecy Bible. I'm going to explain to more of you about why you have a Jacqueline Impey Prophecy Bible. But it is the King James Version, Collector's Edition. It's first printing 20,000. But I got this book probably around the year 2000, and that's what I have here in this date. So Jack Van Impe, he's actually a Gentile. He's a Belgian. He's well known of his day. He's passed on now. But when I was a young boy, I read into his channel, him and his wife, Rexella. And I was fascinated with what they were presenting because what he focused on was the book of Revelations. And he dedicated his ministry pretty much on Bible prophecy and how it worked or tied into world events. So, as a young boy, I found that fascinating. I studied with him for years, purchasing even the Bible that he refers to himself, because what he did is put in his own commentary about the book of Revelations and definitions. So, we'll talk more about that. But I can assure you that all the books from Genesis to Revelation are the King James version of it. So now, with that explained, we go back to the very first book, Genesis. See, he calls it Jack Navy Prophecy Bible because he's got definitions from A to Z of key words in the Bible, and he breaks it down to what they mean. The King James version won't have all that stuff in there. All right. Here we are, Genesis chapter 1. So, why am I doing this calendar? Right here in Genesis chapter 1, it gives you some understanding. Let's begin. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. All right, now that there is a segment of its own. That is pretty much a generic or a general synopsis of the entire creation. But now we're going to get to the details of how he started. And he said here in verse 3, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw the light that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. Stop. This is your New Year's Day. This is the beginning of creation, the very first day. And how does the first day begin? With light and darkness. And the key word here is divide. And as I made it plain in other videos, division, the purpose of division is to come up with two or more equal parts. So you have an equal part day and an equal part night right here. This is your first day, and it begins with a division of night and day, and the division is an equal division, an equal parts. You got to emphasize that, because where do we see in our astronomical understanding an equal day and equal night to this day? Where do we see that? Well, they call it the equinox. But even that term or that understanding is not quite accurate, because we're dealing with light and day of what we can see. So an equal part light and day that we can see and measure is what they call the equal lux. All right. So the equal lux is when the first day began. Equal light, equal day, from sunrise to sunset. And you say, well, how do you measure that? Well, you measure that with a lot of sources. You could use a sundial if you're that good, and a stopwatch or a timer or whatever. Or there's apps that do help you. So I use a variety of apps, and as I made clear in other videos, that you can't rely on the app alone. You better have some ways of cross-checking even that data. But to keep this video shorter and simple, I use an app, and I'll just pull that app up that I like to use because I need to be able to show you guys a picture of it. And it really doesn't really matter what apps you have. They all should be similar, but it's good to have a few different types so that way you could cross-reference those apps. But I have one I use called the Solar Calculator. Let's click on it. I'm going to show up. There we go. And I already have my equilux line location added to the preferences, so it will show me the time based on my location, and it is perpendicular with the Tropic of Cancer, and that's important. And I made a video explaining all that because you have to be able to triangulate your location using the Tropic of Cancer so you can get an accurate time on where the sun is directly overhead. I won't go into too much detail about that. That's makes this video too long. But I'll put a link. That's what I do. I'll put a link in this in the video. I'll put a link in this video lesson featuring that one, and you can review that one if you want more information about the Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn and why you need to use that for your equilux line of longitude and latitude. All right. So what I do is I'll go back to the date where the equilux took place. So it was in March, and that's actually March, was it the 13th? No, was it 13th? I think it was the 14th. 14th, March 14th, 2025, and you'll see here that it says sunrise and sunset were equal 7 o'clock 7 minutes, 7:07. Sunrise and sunset 7:07 p.m. a.m. and p.m. So you got an equal time there, and that's how we know when the year begins. Because the book of Genesis says that he had an equal day and night. Now, you may say, well, still, how do you prove that that's happens every year and that's how you have that's when the year began? That's when these other books come in. You can use the book of Enoch to help clarify. Let's go to Enoch real quick. I like the first book of Enoch. They call it the first book of Enoch, and he writes about this equilux. It's in chapter 72, 73. Let's get there quickly. 72. This is the book of the heavenly luminaries. And he's explaining the sun and the moon and all that stuff. But basically, he's getting to the sun. He's talking about how the sun is rising and setting throughout the year. The time is changing, but at one time throughout the year, you get an equal amount of day and night. And I have it highlighted here. He says, let me back up this in verse 22. And the sun goes forth from that fifth portal and sets in the fifth portal of the west and rises in the fourth portal for 1:30 mornings. So you have 31 days that's going to take place on account of its sign, and it sets in the west. So he's talking about, again, the setting and rising of the sun. The sun is going down and the sun is coming up, and it's happening for 31 days. And he says on that day, the day is equalized with the night. It becomes the equal length, and the night amounts to 9 parts and the day to 9 parts. So that was in verse 23. Now we're going to keep reading through, but we're going to skip over here to verse 34 so you can read this again. And on that day, the sun rises, because again, we're talking about the sun going up and down in these portals. He reiterated it again here about this third portal, the beginning of the third portal or the ending of the fourth portal, where it says on verse 34, and on that day the sun rises from that portal and sets in the west and returns to the east and rises in the third portal for 1:30 mornings and sets in the west of heaven. All right. On that day, the night decreases in the amount to 9 parts, and the day and the night and the day to 9 parts, and the night is equal to the day, and the year is exactly as to its days, 364 days. So you have 364 days at that point is equal. It balances out. And as we understand, Yahweh likes to deal with equality. He doesn't have things that's off balance. He despises that. He don't like things that's not balanced. So he's been balanced out this year with 364 days. But this uh, Roman Julian calendar that we use does 365 days, and that throws everything off. So you may disagree, and only because you think that their science and their understanding of astrology is accurate. But I'm telling you, it won't be, because ultimately Yahweh determines the times. He could stop the sun. He could start the sun. He don't have to be configured in to your calendar and your understanding of time. So this is the reason why we better let that sun dictate to us when the year begins. That's the great sign that was created. And so that's the reason why I use this calendar, and I will rewrite the days based on the equinox. So what, for example, we have the app that showed me on the 14th was the New Year's Day. If I look at my 2025 calendar, you'll see how I wrote here that, go back to March so you can see it. That's the purpose of this video, really, is to start talking about this calendar a little bit more. So on March 2025, on the 14th was New Year's Day, and actually there was a full moon on that day, which is a confirmation. Not that this moon is going to always determine your month, but the moon will come in 10 days too soon for the beginning of the year. And it does that up to 30 days, and then it repeats. So this was the third year, and the moon is full now. Next year, well, we'll look in the calendar. We'll double check it. Next year, or this year, as they say, 2026, March 26 on, it may not be the 14th, it may be the 13th, because like I say, their calendar is going to be shifting days over because they're an extra day longer. So it may be the 13th. So we technically are, it looks like we're going backwards in time because their calendar is making it longer every year. So they're cheating us. Anyway, you'll be able to see that on this day here, it'll be a Friday, between Thursday and Friday at evening, that there will be a 10 days before that will be the full moon. Let's double check it. And we'll put in Friday, and we have 7:09 sunrise, 7:06 sunset. It's not equal. So when that takes place, now you're going to have to use the moon to cross-reference this, because as it says in the book, I think it's the book of Jubilees. No, not this one. Oh, not that one either. This one here. The book of Jubilees, that Moses is discussing how time works as well. And let's see what he says. Book of Jubilees, I have it highlighted here. Yeah. Let's see, where did he write that at? Okay, so it's in chapter 6. Where is it at though in chapter 6? Oh, right here, verse 30. Chapter 6, verse 36, the book of Jubilees. And he tells you, for there will be those who will surely make observations of the moon. And that's what's going on right now. People are using the moon. They're observing the moon. And it says now it disturbs the season. So see, now the moon disturbs the season. The seasons are being adjusted or disturbed, changed, not accurate because of the moon. Because he tells you the moon rises and sets and has its own peculiar course. He'll tell you that in the book of Enoch. But he tells you here in Jubilees, Moses is telling you that it comes now, it disturbs the season and comes in from year to year, 10 days too soon. Year to year, 10 days too soon. So with that understanding, now you can use the moon to cross-reference because you're going to count 10 days earlier, 10 days too soon. So let's see about the moon. If it's coming in 10 days too soon, then where the equinox should be. We go to March. And as we look at March here, as I'm telling you, it should be the 13th because it's always going to be on a Friday. Between a Thursday and Friday will be your new year. It'll always be here. So you count back 10 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And there's your full moon right here. 10 days too soon. So like I told you, it's a cycle. It was 30 days last year. On the 2025, I should say it's 30 days because the moon is going to compound 10 days every year until you get to 30. And because the moon can't be no longer than 30 days behind any day of the calendar, it has to repeat. It has to repeat or recycle back against that 10 days because it's not the compounding. It has to come back and recycle again to that original day of counting. So if it was on a Friday here, and like I say, their calendar is constantly shifting the days over, making the days shorter, then next year will be the 13th. You look at next year here on their calendar on the 13th, on a Friday, and you can use the app to check to see if your equinox is going to be on that day. If the apps are not giving you the equinox, is telling you some other day, well then you better now look at this moon and see if it's 10 days, 20 days, or 30 days early. 10 days too soon now because like I said, the cycle is repeating because it has come full lunar cycle. So you count back 10 days as I did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's your moon. And this is a full moon, and that's the moon you got to use. You're not using the black moon because if you use the black moon, you're completely going off. The scriptures do not support a black moon as the moon to use. And just out of curiosity, I wonder, here's the black moon right here. And we could count forward. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that wouldn't be right. So yeah, you definitely can't even go that route. But anyway, so now I've showed you how you start the calendar. Now once you know where your new year is at, then from that point you start counting your days. No longer have to use any equinox or solar apps or nothing because now you go by what Enoch tells you. He tells you for 2 months you're going to get 30 days, and in the third month you had 31 days changing of the season. That extra day is your transitional day, they like to call it. It changes the season, and then you start into the next 3 months or the next 2 months, which is 30 days each, and then the third month, 31 days. You're going to do that all the way till you come up to 364 days, and your 364 day will line back up with your March Friday. Now, after so many years, let's just be honest, because one of the brothers brought this up to my attention, and I knew that this was an issue for some, not to me, but they like to say that, oh no, your calendar is not going to be right because after 80 some years from now, if you do the calculations with that, your Passover or your New Year is going to be back here, back here in December somewhere. It's going to be the year. It's going to end up in December. Because in other words, see, what's happening is that they're so smart, but yet they're still stupid because they look at that and they think that oh, you're doing it wrong because it's in December. No, you're still doing it wrong because you're letting this calendar, this Roman calendar, dictate to you when the year is. You're letting it tell you that because it says December, you think you're in winter. For one thing, December is the 10th month. You don't, that's why they call it December, DEC, D-E-C. They understand that you have October, which is 8, September is 9, December, no, wait, I'm getting them mixed up. September is 9. No, 7. Sorry, September is 7. October is 8. That's what these were. November is October. Hold on, I'm getting screwed up. September, October, November. September is 7. October is 8. November is 9. December is 10. And then they start with January being the first of the month. They left out 2 months right there. They forgot that you gotta have to keep going. So what they did is that's made December be the 12th month instead of it being the 10th month. They knew they used the Latin words sept, nov, oct, dec, and those mean 7, 8, 9, 10. So they already confusing you there and setting you backwards. And now you're gonna tell me that because they are telling you that it's December, it must be winter. That is not gonna be the case in 80 years from now. I will make that prediction. In 80 years from now, if Yahweh tarries that long in the first place, they'll be readjusting their calendar, meaning the Gentiles will redo their calendar because when it shows December on their calendar, it'll be hot in spring. It'll be springtime weather. We already seeing results of that now. How the calendars aren't adding up with the seasons. You have it warmer. They call it global warming because they know it's warming up sooner than it should be. Getting too hot too fast. Summer's coming too fast. So we must be doing something. No, your calendar's off. And you can't tell me that because it shows on their calendar that I'm wrong. No, you're wrong for trying to be so smart and calculate ahead of time and not still remembering that you're using a flawed calendar to dictate to you when a time begins. So if it shows on their calendar December or November or April or May, it don't matter. Because ultimately it's about the solar system and how the equinox falls. And that's going to determine your season. That's going to determine your beginning of your year. So I hope that answers that question. What do you want to say?
Equinox.
Your equilux. I said what, equinox?
Yeah.
It's going to be based off the equilux. And that's going to be your beginning of your year. Not based on a particular date or particular month on their calendar. They're going to start realizing too that even on this spring equinox is not going to add up right. They're going to have to readjust that. Oh no, they won't have to readjust it. Because they fix this date. They don't change this date. It's always going to be in the spring. So because these days are fixed, It's always to be here. But because our day is going to always have to be on the Friday and the calendar is moving backwards, this day here won't be adjusted, but ours would be because their calendar is adding a day to each time. If we were going to say we're on the 14th every year of March, then we'd be good because we're always going to be in March on that 14th. But because we're going by the equilux, and it won't be the 14th, it'll be the 13th. And in the next year, it'll be the 12th and 11th. But it's only that because their calendar is adding a day and shifting the days over. But makes it seem like we're going backwards. They're just making it longer going forwards. And will push you back because it's on a fixed day. And that's not nothing surprisingly new. A lot of camps are dealing with this issue right now when they deal with the new moon. They're using the moon to determine their year, or their month, I should say. And because that moon is constantly giving them a shorter day than the 365-day Julian Gregorian calendar, because the moon is giving you 29 days, sometimes 30, is shorter than their 365-day calendar. So this makes them have to count in a whole extra month when they when they count their moon cycles and get to 12. It's earlier in the calendar, Gregorian Julian calendar year than they want. So they adding more time to get them back. And make a 13th month. It's just, to me, robbing Peter to pay Paul, as they say. Put a little more time here to try to get us back into this, because we want to use, they all want to agree, you want to get back to that spring equinox. I heard one teacher say, you got to be able to know when the spring equinox is to be qualified to make a calendar, because that's your check valve. They know if you don't know where that spring equinox is and you using this moon, you will be way off seasonal track, even with the Gregorian calendar. So they say the first spring equinox we see, then we look at the next moon from that. Then you look at the next moon, and that's why sometimes they're in April. Then sometimes they're right in March. Most of the time they're going to be in April because their moons are going to always be throwing them back. So they're adding 13 months. They'll be adding, in 80 years from now, they'll be adding a 14th month. That's how that's going to go, because it's going to keep pushing back. If the Gentiles don't adjust this Gregorian Roman calendar, anyone who's using the moon is going to have to add more than 13 months. They're going to add a 14th month because they're trying to keep themselves in line with this spring equinox. And I'm telling you, you use the equilux. That's the only difference. I'm using the equilux, they're using the equinox, and their equinox is an accurate, true day and night. You could prove that by using your apps. You won't see equal day and night on the 20th of March. So that's the difference. So the argument is flawed to tell me that you're going to be in December doing it. In other words, add some more days. I'm not going to cheat to add days. I don't care about it being in their December. That's their December. I don't know if I'm overstressing this issue. I really want to try to make it clear. Their days and months don't matter to me. It doesn't matter to the solar system. If it is December on their calendar, I guarantee to you, in 80 years, if Passover is in December on their calendar, if they don't change it, it'll be spring-like weather out. You won't know it's December. Your winter will come earlier 80 years from now. Maybe it's already, matter of fact, it's funny thing, soon as we finish the fall feast, if it's not the next day, it gets bitterly cold like winter. It's already showing signs that the season is pushing ahead. We're saying, where's fall? Fall is gone so quick. And then you people who are still trying to do the feast later, you got to be out there with your space heaters. Cold, because winter temperatures is. It's not fall. It's already winter. The fall feast will come to an end because we're on the right calendar. Yahweh knows you're done. Time for winter to come on in now. But if you still going based on moon cycles, you're going to be in the winter doing it. And you think you're in fall. Your feast will be in winter. You'll be calling it winter feast. That's how that's going to end up turning out, the winter feast. No longer the fall feast, winter feast. Because the seasons are progressing back, or earlier, I should say, than their calendar is set up. Because their calendar is off. It's adding too many days. It's making it longer. It's making their year longer. Every year is making it longer by a day.
It's faulty.
Faulty calendar, making it longer.
Wanted to change it.
Biden wanted to change it.
He lost the election.
So if Biden wanted to change it, that means he knew, and that means that everyone knows. The astrologists know, the astronomers know, the meteorologists know that it's not adding up with the seasons anymore. It ain't been adding up with the seasons for a long time. We just been dealing with it because we happy. Oh, we got a short winter. A short winter. We happy. No one wants to complain. But wait till winter start coming earlier than they expected to come. Then people gonna start questioning, saying, "Why are we getting these big, heavy snowstorms so early?" Technically, they say winter isn't until the 21st of December. They call it. Oh, it's on the other calendar.
This year, winter started in November.
It sure did. Started much earlier. People were like, man, we getting snow on Thanksgiving. Look at that. It's Thanksgiving and a big old snowstorm. Like winter snowstorm. Already whole month earlier. Yep. So here, winter.
Wrecks, truck wrecks, highway wrecks.
Yeah. December 21st is the winter solstice. That means it's the shortest day in the year. And that's when the winter season begins in December, but you had your winter weather a month earlier or day before Thanksgiving or on Thanksgiving or something, which was about the 27th of November. No one's catching that because see, they just don't get it. They just think you have a freak weather. And it's not freaky weather, it's accurate. The calendar is freaky. Your calendar is freaked. The weather, ain't nothing changing. Now, you would like to bring up this, you won't know one season from the next. I can't find the scriptures. Well, you won't know one season from the next. If that is anywhere, you won't know it based on this calendar. Mm-hmm. Yahweh says you won't know it because he knows you don't understand the times. You don't have the calendar, so you don't know what season is from the next. Because the moon disturbs the season for one thing, and you don't know your calendar because you're observing the moon. And he says here, there will be those who will surely observe the moon. Now it disturbs the seasons and cometh in from year to year 10 days too soon. So see, the moon disturbing the seasons. You're observing the moon and it's making your seasons wacky. They're not like they're supposed to be based on the moon. But they are accurate if you don't use the moon. That's my point I'm trying to make here. So I don't know. I had to edit a lot of this out to make it really clear. I feel like if I'm going to do a video, I need to clarify it.
Tell them just use the Enoch calendar and everything will be all right.
Just use the Enoch calendar, yeah. And everything will be all right. Just use the Enoch calendar, everything will be all right. And how do you use it? Well, I'm teaching you how to use it. And that's the reason why when they say January 1st is the New Year's Day, you say wrong. The New Year's Day begins March 13th, the equilux, because the moon comes in equilux, because the moon comes in 10 days too soon, just as the book of Jubilees predicted. From year to year, not every month, from year to year, it comes in 10 days too soon, and you count back, and there's your full moon 10 days too soon. And somebody's app is going to be accurate. They may even make an update on these apps, and it's going to say, hey, on the 13th, we see that you have equal day and equal night. They'll adjust the app. You won't know it. It'll be just an update on the app. They won't even tell you the app update because they'll have to change their math. See, they have mathematically calculated this out, and they're using this app to mathematically predict this every year. That's how come they could say, yeah, next year to be this and next year to be that. But after a while, they start saying the math ain't mathing because it's not about your math. You can't calculate that thing. Yahweh changes things. He could stop the sun. He's done it before. And the moon. He stopped it for Joshua. He sent it back. How many degrees for that king? You remember that? He made Egypt have 3 days of darkness, I believe. So Yahweh is the one who controls these planetary stars and bodies. And so therefore, you cannot use a mathematical calculation every year to prove or to set a determined date, because he ain't going to let you do that. You're not going to be smarter than him. You're not going to be a figure. And that's probably the reason why he says, no man knoweth the day or the hour.
That makes sense.
He's not going to let you know the day or the hour because you get too clever. I'm being pretty clever right now, figuring out calculate this time. Imagine if I could go 100 years in the future with that same understanding. I'll know things a little too well because, see, ultimately, we start to determine, and I already did last year, that a lot of things, major events that's taking place, happen to fall right around the beginning of the Hebrew Enoch heavenly calendar. I made videos about that. So we'll put it to test. So where are we at? We are here to the 10th, the Hebrew month called Tabath. It is the 27th of their December. It is the 16th of Tabath. Now, when we get to their January, let's pull up the January calendar. When we get to their January or their new year, and that's a little side note. In the beginning, the Gentiles weren't celebrating the new year in January. They were celebrating the new year in March. They knew. They allowed their pagan influences to dictate them when the new year begins. Anyway, let's get back to this. They will say that this is the new year, but technically this would be still the 10th month, Tabath. It would be the 21st. Just count from there, because we got to do how many days? 30 days. So this is the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So on the 10th of January, or the 30th of the 10th month of Tabath, let's see, I bet you something major will take place in the world. It will be a major event right around this time. If not right on Friday evening, or right after this, on a Sunday or a Monday. Because this is, I say Monday because the Gentiles revere Sunday as a holy day of rest. So they may not begin their business until Monday. That's how they don't begin business. So look for some major thing from the president or something going on in the world events, earthquakes, maybe some major disaster, something will take place you'll know Yahweh's behind all that. So that's my prediction. Mark my words, something will take place. I just don't know what. Maybe Yahweh will give me a dream, give me a direct understanding of what will take place. But usually, from what I've been noticing at the beginning of the months, things happen. All right, now let's stop that video there. So for this year, what I will do, I think I did pretty good last year. What I was doing, and excuse me for saying this year and last year, because I'm still in that mindset that I'm using the Gentiles year. And you have to be mindful of all these things because you got to conduct business within their system and world. So I can't be saying when they begin the new year and tell them it's not the new year yet. I can't be pushing that understanding on them. It's not even for them to understand it, for one thing. And how are you going to be able to manage and conduct your business and manage your affairs in a world where you have to, always be telling them that it's not the new year? So you got to tread carefully. You have to learn how to balance this and know who you're talking to and know when to bring it to their attention. So if someone tells me you need to pay your bill on before the new year, I'm going to remember, okay, that's before January. Okay. But if I'm talking to a brother, I'm going to say the new year is not January, it's actually in March based on the Hebrew calendar. What consequences am I having upon myself to bring that to his attention? I may lose a friend. So what? Cut them off if they're not being helpful to you. That's how I say cut them off. If they can't understand, if they are resistant to this knowledge, you trying to help them get a better understanding of what's really going on, or they're telling you they don't care, their mind is in la la land, they want to goof off and ignore you and scoff at what you're saying, then cut them off. Quit being so socially friendly with them. They're not serving a purpose in your life that will help you get closer to Yahweh. I'm trying to get closer to Yahweh because I want to be on his time, his timeline. I want to not be still caught into a Gentile pagan calendar that throws me off to divine time and calendar. Because see, you have to know the divine time so you can celebrate his feast days on the right time. You have to know the divine time so you can blow the trumpet on the right time at the beginning of the month. You have to be able to have that understanding so you don't be thrown off on the wrong day and end up doing these things on a day that is given over to the devil. So this is trying to get closer to Yahweh and his son Yahweh Shai. That's all this is, trying to get closer to him. Trying to balance dealing with this world and this society, but yet having the deeper understanding that a calendar that is based off the Enoch heavenly understanding of the heavenly bodies and their transits and how things are working, how Yahweh has made a divine clock, a celestial clock in the heavens to determine your time. That's all about getting closer to him by having his time understood and not a Roman, Gregorian, Julian calendar, man's time. Because man is not concerned about Yahweh. They're not caring about what he wants and how he has set up things. So what I want to do is get connected with him so I can do the days that he requires me to do as an Israelite, to do his feast days, his holy days. You see, if you're going to do it anytime you feel like doing it and you think that that's pleasing to Yahweh, well, think again. You're doing it in vain. He don't care about how you want to do things. You telling me that, oh, Christmas, I'm doing this for Yahweh. I'm doing this for God, for Jesus. Jesus is the reason for the season. That's what you'll say. But he gave you days to keep in the book. And you're going to ignore that and then present to him some bullshit. That's basically what you're doing. Here, God, take this. I can't do what you say. Take this instead. You know, you got to think about Cain and Abel. That's a classic story about two mindsets. One mindset gives a sacrifice and Yahweh accepts it. And the other mindset gives a sacrifice and Yahweh rejects it. And you have to understand why. Because Yahweh has determined that it requires a blood sacrifice. It's not what you want. Cain brings vegetables. He thinks in his own mind, I'm doing a better thing. I don't have to sacrifice an animal. I can bring you vegetables. And Yahweh's like, no, I don't want that. I have already determined how this has got to go. Because of your sins, someone has to pay the price. There has to be blood shed. And until I bring my Messiah, it's going to be an animal sacrifice. All right. That's to remind you of your forefathers. We call them Adam and Eve, of their sin. How when they sinned, Yahweh technically had to kill an animal and cover them with clothes. They didn't need clothes in the beginning. But when they broke the law and ate from the tree of good and evil, their animal had to be sacrificed to cover their sin, because they had to have clothing now. You see, that's where it all began. You just think that God just poof, here's some skins of animal skins for you to wear. No, animal had to pay for that. Animal had to pay for your disobedience. So blood sacrifice was required. But Cain saying, I don't need to do it that way. I'm going to do it the way I want to do it, and you're going to accept it. And Yahweh was like, no, I'm not going to accept it. And he got so mad, he killed his brother because he hated the fact that Yahweh wouldn't accept his offering of vegetables. So this is what's going to end up happening. You got people who want to do it Yahweh's way, and you got people who want to do it their way, and those people are going to eventually, and they already are, they're going to turn on those who's doing it Yahweh's way and kill them and say that they're doing God's work. So that's where I say cut them off. Because in their mind, they got a bad character. They don't really care. They only doing it because they feel like we should do this because everyone else expects us to do it. But if we're going to do it, let's alter this and tailor this the way we want it done. And that way it's going to get them killed. And before they killed, they're going to want to kill you. They already want to kill you socially, financially, and spiritually. Cut them off. So that way they have something else to focus on. Okay, so we have completed the Gregorian Julian calendar's month of January with overlaying the Hebrew months on it. So they overlap in this same month here. You have Tabath and you have Shabbat, which almost sound like Shabbat, but there's no tha, it's ta, Shabbat. That's the 11th month. And Shabbat, the 11th, the 21st is on the 31st. of January, and then it will go into February. So I'll do that. Um, I guess what I can make a statement here is that you're probably saying, so how do you know that the Sabbath is always a Saturday? I thought that maybe the Shabbat is going to be on different days that it may move around, or maybe the calendars were altered long ago and people didn't know. How do you have that evidence to prove that? So there's a few ways I could show you that. I will bring to your remembrance. Well, let's wait till I get to March. That's when I'll bring up that topic. But technically, if you look at it right here, if you believe the beginning of the year was where it was in 2025, and if you're following the Enoch calendar, where you have 30 days for 1 month, or 30 days for the second month, and 30 days for the third month, and then repeat, it actually fell right on schedule, because as we are ending the 10th month, Tabath is the 30th day, and that happened to be on a Shabbat. So then the first day of the next month, Shabbat, falls on the Sunday. So that's the first day of the week. And then you count all the way till you get to 7 days. So this is perfection here, because this 7th day of the 11th month falls on the weekend, the Shabbat. Shabbat. I want to make sure I emphasize that, because I know that looks like Sabbath, but it's a ta. It's Shabbatah. Shabbat. Shabbat. Where versus the Sabbath, or Shabbat, has the Shabbatah. Shabbatah. It has the tha on the end, which I use the Hebrew book here, written by So Am I, Handbook 1, Basic Paleo Hebrew. And I use that to see how the author put the Hebrew characters together, different ways of forms you can write them. I try to mimic it somewhat, but when you're writing, you may have your own little style, but you want to keep it very similar to this. There is a tha, and there is a ta, and that ta is, where's the ta? Ta 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 ta, right here. Tot, tot, or ta sound. Then there's a tha sound. So they both have X's, but one has a circle and one doesn't. Sound like tha, and then there is ta, tha, ta. So you learn a little Hebrew on this lesson here. So we have